Hey, it's Kulipup here again, and we are doing another video in regards to my first words with my spirit guide and what was really what I was going through, basically, because I've kept all my journals. I have. It's nostalgia. What can I say? So the next thing I did was I drew this. Can we see that? I was drawing, and I just thought, you know what, let me just draw whatever my spirit has in mind. And what happened was, as I was drawing, so for example, I was drawing, I was just like, okay, pen to paper, and the lines almost came in an aura around there. So all I did was I followed the aura lines and whatever to make whatever picture that I was being sent, right? I literally just traced it. And this is what came through. And these, I was just like, what the heck is this? What the heck is this? It's a chicken with a cup and a turtle. That's what I thought it was. I'm like, what is this? But it actually, when I went in to look up hieroglyphs, I was just like, what is this? And these are actual hieroglyphs. Don't get me wrong, I didn't draw them the most beautifulest way, but they are. This is the chick is a feminine plural in a bit. This is a loaf or something like that, and this is of course a pot or a constructive molding. I never actually got exactly what I was trying to say with that. Those were a little bit more difficult. So, going on to languages though, I wanted to know, I was just like, okay, tell me something then. I always have been so interested in Spanish, right? I think it's a beautiful language. I think it sounds very, very sexy. And it seemed to have come easier to me. Well, now I know that it's really just Latin that comes more easily to me when I want to say it. But anyway, the first thing I wrote down is I had a phrase come into my head. And because again, I'm not good with languages. So I was just like, what is that? What is that? And what came in was, Ochomande Tacaros. Now, don't get me wrong. If I'm not pronouncing that correctly or whatnot, there is that. But I'm like, Ochomande Tacaros, what does this mean? What does this mean? And so I went on Google Translate. And what that meant was the 8th command, touch you. And I was like, oh shit, I actually got words in my head that actually translate into something that is an actual word in another language. So I was kind of mind blown. And the 8th command, touch you. So I went and looked into numerology. I'm like, what does this mean? And the number 8, and I wrote it down here, the number 8 resonates with the influences of vibration of authority and personal power, self-confidence, inner strength, manifesting wealth, abundance, and prosperity, inner wisdom, spiritual consciousness, balance between forces, developing confidence to follow a vision, breaking down barriers, and transforming. So my spirit had told me, Ochomande Tacaros, when I asked, the 8th command touches you. Then, by all means, like again, I'm not somebody who is good with languages. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure if I studied it now, I'd be like, yay, pick it up, but I'm too tired. It's not something I'm like, woo, I must get done. So now, the next phrase that came in was, Le triste lechoso laguana. And I was just like, lyricist, songwriter, Milky Lake. I have no clue what that meant. So I'm like, okay, we'll leave that one. So now on to a few more questions. One question I asked was, how will I distinguish between my thoughts and another person when my telepathy works? Answer, you will be able to judge your thoughts based on what you hear. Question, will I hear them in their voice? A, no, you will hear them in your own voice. Question from me, will it be hard at first? Answer, yes, as when you're doing it, now you still believe it's your thought right before the person speaks. Which is so very true. That's why half the time I thought I was crazy, because I'm like, what the shit? It's just me. Okay. And so I was just like, okay, let's do this. Vent time. You'll have to excuse my language in this one. For one, so, okay, let's do this. Vent time. This is me, of course, saying it. For one, stop calling me an asshole, a dick, or as I am neither, but I do like to have fun with you. And the reason why I said this is because when I was asleep, I had a very, very potty mouth. And I would say things, because when I was introducing my clientele, when I was, doing hair and so forth, to this fact, I was just like, check this shit out. And I said, because I would say like, yeah, my spirit can be a dick sometimes. And I said that because during when I was sick, I was very forceful. I was not very forceful, but I was very stern. I was more so in my, what do I say, male or female energy? I was in my female energy, but my spirit was male at the same time. If that makes... So, for example, because I was in my ego, because I was me channeling, my spirit looked just like me, but with longer hair, with really big wings and killer abs, like a great figure and everything. I was like, oh! But I was still female, but I was female with a male's mentality, but I had the sharpness. So if you can think of Kulipup, when Kulipup gets down to business, that's how I was once I was there. I hadn't yet spoken to my twins, so I was a little bit, all right, let's do this to work. I was a little bit stern, so at times I'd be like, yeah, let's do this. Bit of a dick sometimes, but, I love him. I love her, or I'd say, you're an asshole, stop being an asshole. I was, yes, anyway. And then I said, how about we play a game? Sorry, not I didn't, but sorry. Let's go back. Okay, let's do this. Vent time. For one, stop calling me an asshole or a dick. I am neither, but I do like to have fun with you. How about we play a game? You have to guess how many times we've been on this planet. And I'm like, 7. Incorrect. The answer is 6. No, you have not been incarnated more than that. And I'm like, okay. Do you have the ability to change my writing style? Because I noticed that, and by the way, this is my 7th life from past lives. This is my 7th, but I've been in those lives on loop about 20,000 times or so. Now, do you have the ability to change my writing style? Because what I found was when I was writing, I would write in a certain way, but when I was giving the answer at times, my writing would change. I would go from, so I'll give you an example. This was how my writing looks on one page. That is how it looked again. More crisp, if you'd like to say it that way. And the answer was sometimes. And the question me, what was the reason for that question? Which was, where did I? Oh, well, so I said, what's the reason for that question? The answer was, what is it that you mean? Because I was like, what are you talking about? Well, I'm sure I have asked that question before, so it wasn't really new knowledge, unless there was a hidden meaning. And then then the answer was, okay, you got me. I was just playing and checking to see if you were listening. Me, I'm like, okay. And I'm like, want to vent now? Sure. Now, And then I was just like, okay, well, let's vent. And then my spirit was just like, okay, here's the thing. I don't want to vent today, as I want you to continue with your studies by asking questions. And I'm like, okay. And then I said, can I throw out random trivia I don't know? Yes, go for it. What is the capital of Egypt? Cairo. Which was the answer. I'm like, touche. And the reason why I said something like that is because I technically am really crap at geography. I don't know nothing. Like, it is just one of those things that I was in geography class when I was a kid, and it came in and went straight right out, right? So I'm like, okay. What is the capital of Finland? Helsinki? And I was like, okay, what is the, I don't, to be honest, I can't even remember if that's right or not. So what is the time right now? And answer was 10 p.m. And I was just like, and I hadn't looked at the clock, right? I had no clue what time it was. So I'm like, what's the time right now? 10 p.m. And I looked at the actual time was 10:02. And I'm like, touche. And then I had a little bit more, then I had a little bit more Spanish come in. No comprende a la presto. And she doesn't understand already or something like that. That's what that meant. I was like, oh, okay. Then I drew this. I drew this, and I didn't know what it was. Then I drew this, and then I drew this. Now, at the time, I didn't know what that meant either. And what it meant was, and after I was like trying to figure it out with hieroglyphs and everything like that, and just saying like, oh, okay, what can I do to find this? And what the message I was getting through pictures was to open your heart. This is my heart. You must close your most sacred heart. To lead in the light of dawn, to get the chalice. To lead in the light of dawn. And I didn't understand that entirely, but what at the time, now that I look back at it, I understand it so much. You need to have an open heart, just the same way I have a very, very open heart to everybody, because I love absolutely everybody. But my heart, though, is still closed. I still protect it from any negativity or so forth as well, standing up for myself. The open chalice is more like the female energy. The closed chalice is more like the male energy. But when I combine these together, I lead in the light of dawn. Okay. Then, now, if you want to know how I got to all my synchronicities, this is where it all started. Because I started getting loads of numerology synchronicities, like the 1s, the 11s, and so forth. So at this point, that's when I started making my notes and asking my spirit, what does this mean? What does the 22 to the 23, 33s and all of these kinds of things? And I was able to record all of them at that point. Now, I'll do just a couple more. Question. What is the best way to stay in my now moment while I go through this process? Because I had a really hard time with that. I was always either thinking in the past or thinking in the future, more so in the future because I had really deep-seated anxieties. Because again, being in control all the time, when that control was being taken away, it was really difficult for me. Answer. The best way to stay in your now moment is by focusing your attention on the now. See how you feel. What does your skin feel like? What does the air taste like, etc. Just literally focus now. Question. But what do I think of after I have done a full body scan? Answer. Think of the beauty of what you see. Flowers, birds, Shayla, my cat, etc. And then I asked, does that get boring though? Like I'm like, again, I was still so into being entertained, like everybody else in this world, you know, distracted and entertained. So I'm like, the birds and the trees, isn't that just gonna be boring? Answer. Not if you appreciate all the fine details. You know what I mean by that. Question, me. But don't I need to think of what I'm trying to manifest? Because I thought like, well, I'm manifesting. Well, shouldn't I think of it? Answer, you already have. Now stay in your now moment and let me work my magic. Because again, your spirit is the one that will manifest on your behalf until you get up to a state like me where you can actively manifest yourself. And I said, thank you. I'm never flaming. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I asked at that was so let me work my magic. And then I asked the question where I said, you're so flaming cool. And answer was, thank you. I'm never flaming. Because we're never on fire. We're just, yeah. Then my next question was, what is the best method for me to use to quiet my mind, silence, and subconscious ego? Answer, the best method is to know what is bothering you and confront the issue. When you have no issues, you have no mind. You have no, you're blank. You can enjoy the now moment. Now, question for me, what issues do I need to work through? Answer, trust, focus, intelligence over others. And I was like, what does the last phrase mean? Answer, intelligence over others means you are believing yourself to be superior when you are not. Because I was a little bit, when I was in my ego, because again, I knew so much and with my empathy and so on. And sometimes I'd look at some people and just be like, why do you got to be such an idiot? That kind of thing. And then, because I was in denial at that point as well. I was like, what? I don't criticize. So I asked, is that what I truly believe? Because I don't feel like that in my conscious mind. Answer, you pity people for their lack of understanding and knowledge. Then there's me. If it is their choice not to do what is best for themselves, then what should I feel for them? Because I did feel pity. I understood that. I was kind of like, if somebody was ignoring or not doing the things that they should be doing, I was like, oh, you poor thing, you're going to be taken by the harvest, that kind of thing. Or the answer was like, so again, the question is, if it is their choice not to do what is best for themselves, then what should I feel for them? Answer, nothing. Your pity does nothing. So why waste the energetic emotion? Everyone is on their own journey. I'm like, okay, fair enough. How do I get over trust issues? Answer, you start by listening to your heart and not your head. Me, I feel the faith and trust in my heart, but my head is so persistent. Answer, what would be best is if you decided to take this more seriously. I told you to go into the silence every day for 30 minutes, and you've barely managed 5. You have to imagine my voice in that time. Because this is how I literally said it to myself in my avatar, to my ego at the time. I said, what would be best is if you decided to take this more seriously. I told you to go into the silence every day for 30 minutes and you've barely managed 5. That's basically how I said it. And I was like, I find getting into the silence difficult. Thinking of nothing is really only easy when I lay down to sleep. Answer, the silence is conscious sleep. Then me. And then I started feeling at that time, because I was being so stern with myself, I started to really self-pity myself at the time. And so I was just like, why did you choose this body? Like, why did you choose this body? Because we all do it. And anytime we're coming into an incarnation, we choose our own body. We choose our own life. We choose the script that we're going. So I was like, why did you choose this body? And I was feeling all like, bah. The answer was, the question is irrelevant. Stop being silly. And then I was like, can I have some tips? Answer, start by making a fist and squeezing tight. After that, recite the following. I am one with myself. I am one with the universe. All that beholds me is sacred and serene. Words will assist you to quiet the subconscious, as we can only have one thought at a time. Do not be fooled. I will tingle while I'm speaking speaking and feel no when I'm not. So what that meant was I had a real difficulty in calming myself, in quieting my mind at the time. So what I was telling myself was to make a fist, because I'm focusing then on the tension in my fist. So make a really tight fist, and whilst I'm doing this, I am repeating, I am one with myself, I am one with the universe, all that beholds me is sacred and serene. And then I would let go. But I'd still repeat the phrase. Because again, I was coaching myself to think about what I wanted to think about, you know, rather than just trying to be sitting there and be silent and let my subconscious enter my mind too much. So, and of course, when I was telling myself, when my spirit was telling me, you know, you can only have one thought at one time. So if you decide the thought, it can't decide it for you. And when I said, do not be fooled, I will tingle when I'm speaking. And that was my sentience. Because you know when you, I know sometimes if you're watching my videos, I will say something and you may get a little shiver or tingles. Or whenever you're hearing something that's truthful, you may get little tingles like, ooh, I got goosebumps. Those kind of things. That is the tingle I was being told. Like, I will tingle when it's me. You know, because that means it's truth. And when it's a no, you will feel a no. And that's the same kind of feeling I get when I'm holding up my pendulum. When it's a no answer, it feels like blockage, right? It feels like instead of swimming downstream and going with the current, it feels like I'm now swimming upstream and it's harder. So that's what I meant, like you'll feel a no. Okay. And then there was me, I'm like, okay, got it, please continue. Now, of course, what is the most important thing is that you get enough time and rest. I will take care of things in the background. And then I was like, thank you for taking care of me and us. When I thank you, is that, oh, sorry. And then I got, you don't need to thank me. And then I'm like, when I thank you, is that offensive? As you always stop talking at that point. And it was so weird. Whenever I thanked myself, I would just stop talking. And so that's why I asked. And the answer is, it is not offensive. It is pointless as I am you. And then I said, is that not self-love though? No answer, which is, I got no answer on that one. So I'm like, no. Okay. And then I'm like, okay, back to the topic. How long do I chant for? How long do I chant this? I'm one with myself. I'm one with the universe. All that beholds me, sacred and serene. At least 15 minutes. Do I then visualize stuff or imagine creating things? Answer, no, not for now. You need to be comfortable with silence and nothingness. And I was training myself in order to get into the silence and nothingness. Okay. That is the end of that. I will come at you with some more first writings. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Bye.